Hello everybody and welcome to today's CMI Regional Voice Singapore Practical Empathy Balancing Compassion with Business Needs digital event. My name's Claire Arscott, I'm an event manager at CMI and I'll shortly be handing over to Mr. Manoj Menon who will be running the session today along with Judge Magnus. If you have any questions, please use the chat function to the right of your screen. We'll answer as many questions today as we can during the live stream. Today's session is being recorded and will be shared with you later. So without further ado, I will hand over to Mr. Manoj Menon to commence the discussion. Thank you.
Hey, thank you very much, Claire. Very good morning to all of you in UK and good evening to all my friends in fellow CMI chapter in Singapore and all others. Good afternoon and good evening, depending on which part of the world you're joining in. Really thrilled to have this incredible opportunity to host this session on practical empathy. And we have a very, very distinguished guest to discuss with us about practical empathy. So just to put context, the CMI Singapore chapter got together about 3 months ago. And our intention was to say, how do we put together something that is most relevant and valuable to our members in Singapore? And all of us got together, we brainstormed, and we said, what are the 3 most important qualities that are needed for managers to become successful in the coming decade? And we had a very animated discussion amongst all of us in the Singapore CMI UK team. And we finally agreed on, narrowed it down to 3 things. Number 1 was empathy. Number 2 is agility. And number 3 is trust. That discussion led us to say, who is the best spokesperson in Singapore who truly represents everything about empathy and who can be a great spokesperson for us on what empathy should be and how do we bring empathy into the workplace. And that led us to Judge Richard Magnus. Judge Richard Magnus, as many of you know, has spent over 40 years serving the legal service in Singapore. He has had incredible success in serving Singapore. In fact, the Chief Justice of Singapore, this is what he said of Judge Magnus. He said, the excellent state of the subordinate courts has been due to the untiring work of Senior District Judge Richard Magnus, who has left a legacy that our judicial system can be proud of. His work plans produced such impressive results in transforming the court process and the delivery of justice in Singapore that the World Bank decided to commend these judiciary-led reforms as a model of public sector governance that could be applied to countries whose court systems needed reforms to bring them to the age of the internet. Since then, Judge Magnus has, after his retirement, he served as Singapore's first representative to ASEAN Intergovernmental Commission on Human Rights. He is the chairman of many corporate companies in Singapore, as well as many NGOs in Singapore. He is an adjunct professor of law and social policy at SUSS in Singapore as well. So, Judge, really thrilled and privileged to have you here. Thank you very much for joining us, Judge.
Thank you very much. And good morning to everyone.
Excellent. Yeah, we have been having a little bit of technical difficulty in the connection, but I think it is getting better. And I hope all of the listeners are empathizing with us on this subject. So before we start, maybe the first question itself, Judge, is the word empathy, and you and I had this chat. What is the origins of this word empathy? And I was really shocked when you mentioned the answer. So I think it'll be great for our listeners to understand. What is this? How recent is this word, and what is the importance of it? Yeah.
So this was one of the first things I learned when I was at Kennedy School. I was equally shocked as you, Manoj, when I was told that the word empathy actually was already within the Greek vocabulary. Pathos is to be seen within the wider context of logos, pathos, and CG, what they call CG, SY, GGY, CG. So you need to have the logic first, why you do it. You need to have the empathy, which is the pathos part of it. So that's how it started, from the Greek vocabulary, and it started from that time. And it's quite interesting that the Oxford English Dictionary has listed it as band number 5 of vocabulary.
I think we are having a little bit of a connection difficulty, Judge.
10 million times now. So it is rich history, Manoj. The word pathos.
Yeah. I think, Judge, the connection quality has been a little weak, and so I think we are not able to. There was a little bit of a lag. I don't know if it is. Should maybe for the interim, should we try to turn off the video and just do audio for a few minutes and see if that improves the connection, if possible? Otherwise, we try once again. I think, Judge, it's getting better now. Maybe we can try. Yeah. Excellent. Judge, are you there? Yeah. I think the connection quality, unfortunately, we have had a little bit of an issue today. Apologies, and yeah. So as I was saying, so we had this conversation with, I think Judge is back. Yeah.
Okay, that's audio, Manu. I can be on audio.
Oh, this is wonderful. Yeah, this is wonderful. Yeah, please go ahead. Yeah, Judge, it will be worthwhile to explain it again, because the line quality was not clear at that time. Excellent. I can see all the comments coming in, which is pretty interesting. So feel free to put the comments in, and as we wait, maybe one option, Judge, is to log off and sign back in through close the browser and dial back in. Hopefully that will help us get back into the connection, and we'll So as I was So I think it'll be great to hear what the audience has to say. In terms of what does the audience think, because I know many of you couldn't hear the Judge carefully. So what do many of you think in terms of how long ago was the word empathy? How recent is that word? Without searching in Google, please. If I'm keen to hear what the audience thinks about how long it has made it into discussion in businesses. Yeah, Judge, you are back. Fantastic. Yeah, this is a much better connection, Judge. Yeah.
Are we better?
Yeah, much better, much better. I think this is fantastic. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, Judge, maybe it'll be worthwhile for you to repeat that actually. You were saying
Yeah.
about the word empathy. Yeah.
Yeah, I think ethos comes from the Greek thought.
Yeah. Hey, thank you, Nick. I think I agree with you. In fact, a Judge joined the session half an hour before schedule, and we had a perfect connection. We had a great dialogue, and we learned a fair bit. Unfortunately, just 2 minutes before, we had some challenge with the connectivity from his iPad. Hopefully, we are able to resolve this. I do understand the frustration that some of you feel at times, but yeah. Yeah, Judge, I think let's have another go, Judge.
Let me
yeah. Oh, yeah.
Let me log out and come.
Okay. Yeah. I think it is, yeah. Okay. So maybe this is time for some audience interaction. I didn't hear anybody coming back with some comments in terms of how the word empathy, how long do you guys think it has been in practice or use? Okay, I don't see much comments coming in. So the key questions, maybe let me walk you through some of the key things that I plan to cover with the Judge in the session. It might be 3,000 years old, Kellen? Good. That's true, but its practice, I'm told, is less than 120 years old, is what the Judge told me, and that's what Google also actually confirmed, because if you go back into history, it was really the survival of the fittest. Empathy as a practice and as a discipline was first started getting used only somewhere in early 1900s, and now it is becoming absolutely critical in recent times in businesses. So I wanted to there are many things I wanted to cover with him, and Professor Judge is also being an adjunct professor, and he's also taught classes at Harvard. Some of the things that he was very passionate and he was looking forward to sharing with us is around the empathy index, and is there something like an empathy index, and how can companies measure the quality of empathy that exists in their company, and is there a need for companies to also understand what is the right levels of empathy that they should have. They should not overdo it. Yeah, Donna is saying that we have been using the word for the last 10 to 15 years, but we we're more towards sympathy rather than empathy. Yeah, and how do we differentiate? And that is one of the key things that I wanted to ask the Judge. In terms of how is he? How does he deal with an instance where he's had to make a difficult decision torn between empathy and fairness? Yeah, we have the president of the Singapore, chairperson of the Singapore CMI chapter, Woon Teck. Woon Teck, thank you for joining and stepping in at such short notice. Appreciate you stepping in. Woon Teck, you want to first give some comments on the subject as we try to get Judge back online?
Manoj, thanks. And very glad to see so many people out there who are interested in this topic called practical empathy. Yes, the word seems to be something that we all understand and are familiar with, but the true meaning of it, I think in today's context, is not easy to practice. We know we have the COVID pandemic that is affecting every part of the world, no matter where you are. We know that this has also caused hardship and livelihood because many business activities cannot carry on. Shops have to be closed. Business has to be stopped for public health. So here we are in today. When we talk about practical empathy, how do you find a balance to protect human life and to also ensure the livelihood do not get too disrupted, right? Because if you go one extreme to protect human life, then many businesses will suffer greatly. But if you go the other extreme to open up too fast and allow air travel to take place, ignoring human life, then the casualty will be very heavy. So these are very difficult, unusual times where you need to find a delicate balance. And I like what we are discussing today about practical empathy. It's not just pure empathy, but we got to be very practical about how we want to deal with situations like this.
Correct. Yeah. So, Woon Teck, now, for example, one of the toughest decisions that many business leaders in Singapore are facing, and maybe you are facing the situation as well, right? On one end, we need to protect jobs as much as we can. At the same time, we also realize that many of these jobs can be done in other locations, more cost-effective locations. So, what is our advice, or how do we as managers understand the situation? How do we adapt to the situation? How do we rationalize the decision between keeping some jobs here? At the same time, you need to reduce the cost and you need to potentially move some jobs to other parts of the world. So this is a dilemma I'm sure many Singapore business leaders are dealing with. And how do you be empathetic at the same time? You need to also keep the business going fundamentally because you are in a competitive environment as well. Any advice for business leaders?
I wouldn't dare to say advice, but I would say that we may have to change the landscape of how we look at jobs. We have to grow beyond protecting jobs, and we have to be focusing more on skill sets and what is relevant for the marketplace. So we may have moved jobs away from, say, Singapore to another place, but at the same time, we must have the ability to create new skills, new jobs, right? I think the world is dynamic, and we have actually, there are two ways to look at this. One way is to look at technology as a disruptor, because some jobs are now taken away. It can be done offshoring in other countries, but others may see technology not as a disruptor, technology as a creator, because while some jobs are disrupted, newer ones are created, newer opportunities are created, right? And then the beauty of technology is allowing more creative people to come together to collaborate. For example, today we have programmers, software engineers in Singapore collaborating with people in India, in Jakarta, in Vietnam, in US, in London. And because they are able to work round the clock 24 by 7 nowadays, you can see that actually there are new ways of delivering solutions by collaborating.
Correct.
And that's how I see it. Judge is back.
Yeah. Excellent, Judge. Judge, I was just asking Woon Teck about, technology is making jobs redundant. Business leaders in Singapore are faced with tough situations in terms of, hey, I can move jobs to other countries. And Woon Teck was saying, he was trying to respond by saying that, we should not necessarily be looking at protecting the jobs, but if jobs are better done somewhere else, it's better to move them, but we create newer jobs with new skills that are relevant from a Singapore context. And that is what would be the right way to approach it. Your opinions, Judge?
Well, I've been looking at the technology companies. I think the World Economic Forum has listed the 10 best economic companies, which are empathetic companies by Empathy Index, and 6 of them are technology companies. And rather than losing jobs, they are creating new jobs because of empathy. They have adapted very quickly to the demands of this post-COVID world or pre-COVID world or during COVID world. They have adapted very quickly to the demands on the ground, and technology gives us the ability to be flexible almost immediately because there's a changing of the algorithm.
Yeah,
I agree. In fact, you look at what you are reading in the newspaper. More and more technologies companies are looking at housing their operations here, and I think empathy requires us to embrace a diversity of culture. For us to be able to have it doesn't matter where you come from, who you come from, to have them coming to Singapore to set up shop here. I think you need to have this tolerance for different culture, different views to come together, and I think we have that conducive environment to embrace cultural differences, and that is actually a very critical part about being an empathic leader.
Okay. No, I thought, yeah, absolutely, and I'm actually excited to hear what Judge had to say in terms of the top 6 companies in the world, technology companies who are who are leading that list of being empathetic. So how they are beginning to bring about. Yeah, Judge, I think you're back. You want to complete that sentence. You left us hanging there with for excitement.
That there is such a thing as empathetic technology, and I think it's important to be able to recognize that. And the next frontier will undoubtedly be about how technology can not only tap into our emotional selves, but also anticipate our needs in support of our biological and environmental well-being. So often decked in features like voice, facial expression recognition, the capabilities of these platforms are not only becoming increasingly personal, but essential. So, so technology companies are creating more jobs once you begin to adapt themselves to the new environment that is existing. And that requires empathy. Hence the expression of empathetic technology.
Excellent. Yeah, I think Judge is continuing to have some challenges today.
Maybe Judge can actually switch off the video and just go audio. I think that would be...
Yeah. Or maybe Judge, maybe I request one of our CMI members to call Judge, and the easiest thing to do is maybe just join on the Singapore mobile network rather than on the residential broadband or the office broadband network that he's on, which could be facing some challenge. So if Vailun or someone can just message Judge and say, just join this StreamYard connection on his mobile phone, I think he may have a better chance to get this through. And just bear with us for a few more minutes. I know. I thought Nick Hickman made a good comment. He's saying, train people well enough so that they can leave, treat them well enough, that is, be empathetic so that they don't want to leave or they won't want to leave. Good.
But Manoj, Judge talk about empathetic technology. It's a very interesting terminology, empathetic technology, because technology, has no feeling. But to make the technology empathetic, I think the people who create those technologies, first of all, must be empathetic. I can think of Facebook is how do you bring people to make friends, to connect, and how do you reach out to people from afar. In fact, Facebook or the likes of this have been able to let families gather together even though they are distant. They could be in one place and the other place. Technology like what we are doing today, StreamYard, may not be perfect, but at least has been able to connect people in London, India, Hong Kong, Sri Lanka, Malaysia together.
Okay.
Yeah.
Excellent.
Hi, Judge.
Sorry, Manoj, I'm really sorry. I don't know what's happening, but yeah.
This is one of yeah. One of those days.
And
one of those days, you know. Yeah.
One of those days, yeah. Yeah, I think World Economic Forum talked about the 10 most empathetic companies. They are Facebook, Alphabet, LinkedIn, Netflix, Unilever, Southwest Airlines, Microsoft, Whole Foods Market, Johnson & Johnson, and SAP. And these are all companies which are the 10 most because they are technologically driven. So I think we need to realize that technology is an asset, and shouldn't regard that as a negative platform that we should engage.
Great point. In fact, I was on a conversation earlier this morning with some CIOs in India, and they talked about something similar. They said we are in an era where we need to codify emotions. That means we are in an era where machine code is codifying emotions and understanding and measuring emotions, and that will drive the future of how employee experience and customer experience will get integrated together.
Absolutely, yeah.
Yeah. So, Judge, maybe one of the first things I wanted to ask you is empathy in 2020 different from empathy in the past?
Yes, definitely so. Yeah, definitely so. Empathy in the past has been about social.
Yeah. Wouldn't you're there, right?
I'm there.
Yeah. I think we're just, and as you can see, judges, every answer he's been giving has been, absolutely incredible insight. Unfortunately, we just technology today is just not bringing us together to make this possible. So I think maybe what we should do is. Wintek, it may make sense since, I think Judge is the star of the show. Maybe we need to really potentially consider rescheduling this for another time, right?
Sure. But since we are on board, let's give it some time to, for Judge. Maybe what we can do is to switch around, let him go on the audio rather than the video. All right. And then we can carry on this discussion. Of course, we have many people online. And in your questions, whether there is a difference between empathy today and in the past, I felt that there is a big difference. Simply because we are moving from a third industrial revolution to a fourth industrial revolution, where we are experiencing a world where we are dealing with machines, automation, right? And we have to learn how to work together with the machines. And this is where the danger come in, that we may be less empathetic because for some group who believe that machines can take over human, then it will be a very sad day. I think
Mm.
for where we are and what mankind has achieved is because we know and we are in control of our destiny. Machines are there to help us do some of these mundane tasks, but it is not going to be able to replace any one of us. Machine, even the AI, can learn how to process and identify patterns, right? Or symptoms, right? Or diagnose a X-ray. But it is the human that give the love, right? The touch, the feeling of love and care to the patients.
Correct.
So I think we need more of this, and I think the future jobs are going to be a lot more dealing with, of giving care, giving love, getting people to understand there is warmth, and there is interaction, there is emotions, even though you are surrounded by machines and tech.
Correct.
Yeah.
We are trying to see if Judge, one last attempt, is trying to see if he can join on his mobile. Let's see if we can make it in. Yeah. Give us a second. I also wanted to, I was reviewing something yesterday with the judge, and maybe in the meantime, let me bring up that piece of, yeah. Sorry, I'm trying to message the judge and see, trying to help him join the session in a second. Patrick O'Brien is asking us, Muntek, if empathy has changed, is it by accident or by design?
I feel that it's actually, I mean, by accident. By accident. I don't think we actually are so good as to design empathy. Empathy is a very natural form of behavior. If you look at the kids coming together, we are born with empathy.
Correct.
Plenty of it. But the environment we are in, the conditions where we may have actually eroded that. But human beings, we have feelings.
Correct.
We know what is conscience. We know when we are born, right? How to cry. Machine can't cry. And we know the people who give us life are people that we need to care.
Correct.
And we know for us to do well, it's not about us. It's about the people around us that help us. Okay, and we know that despite all the different practices, different religion, different culture, in this earth we are one. Looking at how to improve life, how to bring care to the elderly, how to lift poverty. And when it comes to lifting poverty, look around us, the humanitarian aids that is going around.
Correct. Yeah. In fact,
humanitarian aids. Yeah.
Absolutely. In fact, Muntek, 181 top CEOs of American companies. There is a business roundtable in the US, and they got together, and even before the pandemic, somewhere in September of 2019, they all signed a declaration, and the declaration was that statement on purpose of a corporation. So what they have said is, traditionally businesses have all been very focused on just one stakeholder, which is shareholder, maximizing profit, right? So all these 181 CEOs have said that it is not just this one stakeholder. We have to deliver value to 5 stakeholders, and each of the stakeholders is essential, and they committed to delivering value to all of them. And the stakeholders they have identified are the shareholders, the communities, the communities they are in, the suppliers, the employees, and the customers. Yeah? So clearly businesses are beginning to realize that, on one end, yes, we respond in times of crisis, in times of when we are put to adversity, but on the other end, businesses are also beginning to respond proactively, given that communities are, communities are demanding this kind of action of businesses. Yeah. So you can look up this report on the Business Roundtable, and it's slowly gathering further momentum among many companies. Excellent. Next question. Maybe we can take one more question as we try and attempt to see if Judge Magnus can join. I think it's really sad that today we are having a tough technological issue with it. Otherwise, we had a great session planned. Muntek, any particular question? I think one of the questions you were passionate about and you wanted Judge to answer, and maybe we don't know the answer, but maybe the audience can. And you talked about this issue of people disguised empathy, where companies are disguising empathy, and maybe it will be good to pose that question and also maybe hear your comments on this.
I think what we are seeing is I call for lack of a better word, I call them disguised empathy. What we are seeing is the jobs are redundant, and in order not to retrench people, you put someone into a position where he or she can't do well, simply because he or she lack the skills or lack the guidance. Okay. So I'm in the finance line. You try and put an accountant to do an engineering job. And you say, yeah, learn, lifelong learning, go and do an engineering job. That's impossible. And you say, hey, look, how come you are not open to learn? I think when those comments are made, to me, that is disguised empathy, because there's no chance for the person to even succeed. I think the worry that we have is, and we are seeing this in the workplaces, is more and more people are practicing disguised empathy in order not to show that I have to retrench. I think if a better way of doing it is if you have to retrench people, say so and make it clear that there's nothing wrong with him or her.
Correct.
It's because the condition has changed, the job has disappeared, and you support this person to learn a skill that he can use it somewhere else, right?
Correct.
Not to demoralize him or her, and not to actually trash him to a position where he or she feels that he or she is useless.
Correct.
And to me, that kind of mental torture is a form of disguised empathy that all of us as managers must not do. I think Judge is back, and Judge is on.
Yeah, Judge is back.
On audio. It would be better.
Let's try. Hey, Judge, welcome. Maybe the question I'm asking is not very technology friendly. Maybe let me change the question. So, Judge, we talked about, can empathy be a corporate value? Can empathy help companies differentiate between one another? Maybe let's start with a fresh question, and that will bring life to our conversation.
Yeah. Can you hear me, Manoj?
I can hear you very clearly.
Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Very good. Yeah.
Oh, wonderful. Yeah. I think we need to move empathy to be sitting at the table of management. Yeah. I think one
I think today really is we have such great connectivity in Singapore.
Hello.
It's
Yeah,
Judge,
we can hear you, Judge. Yeah, yeah. Go ahead, Judge.
I think it's what is it? Dilbert's law or Dilbert's rule? Murphy's law. Sorry, it is Murphy's law.
Yeah.
We have a unique challenge today. So, oh, I think Judge is back. Judge, we give it one more shot and let's see.
No.
You know, Manoj, I feel that despite the fact that we are not able to get the judge to engage in this very important session, many still stay online and continue to chat with us.
Yes. Yeah.
And I think this is what I mean by empathy in action rather than empathy in words. We will have unfortunate situation, unfortunate event facing us. And this is one good case. I wouldn't say it's unfortunate, it's just that technology has not been able to get us to have someone so learned like Judge to share with us. But it doesn't stop us from talking about empathy. It doesn't stop us from discussing about empathy. And I think if there's anything I learned today is we as a community and as better managers, and we really want to be better managers, it's about uplifting confidence, uplifting the morale, uplifting the positive energy in every people that we touch. And to me, that's practical empathy. It's not about words, it's about action, it's about what do you do. And I can see this coming out from many people who are contributing in the chat group, even though we cannot hear them. And that is a clear way of showing practical empathy.
Correct.
Right? Yeah.
I agree. And thanks for that. And that is keeping me and Wuntek at least smiling and engaging with you people. So as a business leader, I was fascinated by this subject myself, simply because at every given point in time in your company's growth trajectory, you are faced with situations where you have people who just don't have the capability to continue to be relevant in a particular geography or a particular business unit. And I was, it was always the most difficult thing to do, of letting go of people. Toughest thing a leader and a boss in many instances have to do, which is letting go of people. So one of the questions I wanted to ask Judge is, how do you deal with situations like this? How do you manage through this? And I don't know if I know the answers, but after so many years of practice, I've realized that it is the most difficult thing to do, but it does not mean that business has to survive so that you can take care of everybody else. So it is important you take the right decisions for the business. And so we got to let these people move on, support them in finding other suitable jobs, and not be too carried away or too empathetic that you actually harm the existence of the business itself. And that is where we draw the line. And it's easier said than done, but the practice of that is what helps build sustainable, great companies over a period of time. And which is what I see some of the world's best companies do. On one end, they perform, they deliver great results. On the other end, they're continuously restructuring their teams. but they take care of it in an empathetic manner. They guide their teams through the transition. They support them in finding other avenues and other jobs. And through that means, people continue to find other relevant mechanisms to contribute in other companies and other industries. So I think Woontek, Judge is really having a tough time. We are tempted to bring Judge back in one more time, since
I think the Judge is backstage.
Yeah,
we can bring him back. Yeah, let's try. Yeah, but Manoj, I just wanted to expand what you have just said. You see, we all get it wrong. We look at jobs. We look at creating jobs, but actually, are we doing the right thing? Are we looking at creating jobs? I think that the key is it's not about job. It's helping people find the purpose in life. It's not about jobs. I can be redundant in one job. It's not to put another person to another job. It's about maybe at that stage in your age, let's examine what life is about. Job is only one part of your life.
Correct.
And there are many things that has a purpose. We have seen CEO who retire, do missionary work. We have seen people who go back to learn early childhood, to teach young children, right? We've seen people who become avid photographer, right? Because they found that the purpose in life is not about finding another job. The purpose in life is to lead life fully, passionate about what you're doing, that you wake up, you have a smile, that life is full of energy, right? That I want to do something that I like. The purpose in life cannot be just looking for another job.
Correct.
Right.
I think it's great point. Great point. Absolutely. So if you go after the right purpose, then this conversation, then you take a completely different perspective. I think I think there's a great comment here by Venus. Venus says she's absolutely impressed with Judge's perseverance in trying to get back online, and which most people would have been fed up and already resigned to the fact that this is not going to work. So Judge, since you're back, let's try once more. Yeah.
Okay, let's try.
Yeah.
We're always in the business of trying, yes.
Yeah, I think it sounds right this time, I must say. Yeah. So Judge, at that time we were talking about empathy as a corporate value when we got disconnected.
Yes.
Can empathy help companies differentiate between one another?
Yes. I think first of all, we need to empathy to have a seat at the table. I think that's important. Empathy has always taken a back seat. Empathy has been regarded as a value, as a process, as a mindset that we need to do. We need to be empathetic, look at the ground, survey the ground, and things of that sort. Taken a seat at the table. So we need to have, for example, for purposes of discussion, we need to have not only the chief executive officer or the COO or the CFO, but we also need to have the chief empathetic officer sitting at the table. Then empathy becomes part of design thinking, becomes part of strategic value. And Peter Drucker says this, Manoj. He says culture of a company eats up strategy. So culture comes first. Then the strategy otherwise will not be aligned. If you have a strategy without a culture, the company will become misaligned. And the culture that Peter Drucker is talking about is an empathetic culture. So it has to be not only part of a corporate value, it has to be part of the corporate DNA. And I think that's important for us to realize that.
And how do we, this chief empathetic officer, how does he measure empathy? How does he realize what is the right levels of empathy? How does he realize, oh, am I being too empathetic and impacting the business? How do you define and the measures? Is it possible to do that? Judge always gives us these short answers, and then he leaves us gasping for more. Yeah. I think, Wintek, it makes real sense to bring the judge back with a good connection.
I think so too.
Many of our guests have been very patient with us, and we thank you all. We apologize, that unfortunately today the session could really not work. But I think you got a glimpse of what to expect when we bring Judge back into this conversation. Clearly, he has a lot to say. This is something that we, at least in the Singapore chapter, aim to discuss more, deliberate more. I think there's a huge value add that we can do to bring to the organizations in Singapore. So, Wintek, I'll let you for some concluding remarks, and then Mel can come back and help us close this session out, and we'll reschedule it for a suitable time in the coming weeks.
Yeah, we definitely want to bring Judge back. He's a man of wisdom. He has been through different challenges at different stage of his life, and the reason why we want to create this series of practical empathy is to have people like Judge Richard Magnus to come and share with us his wisdom and his thoughts on how can we practice empathy in today's days and age, where many of us are ruled by numbers, by KPIs, by measurements, right? And by economic profits. It is not that those are not important, but if we are overly skewed towards measuring people's success by how many A's they score, by what schools they come from, by who are their parentage, by what kind of profits they generate, by what kind of market capitalization that they have been able to create, then I think the world is very cold. It's a very bitter winter. And I'm glad that globally we have corporate leaders that believe that the world cannot go into a bitter winter.
Okay.
Well, there may be some moments of bitter winter, but after winter is spring. Spring has to come, and sunshine has to come, summer has to come. And we want the world to be longer in terms of experiencing spring, life, summer, right? Even if we wither in the autumn, the regeneration must be fast enough for us to recreate value, to see new life, to see new spring, right? To see new summer.
Excellent.
Yeah, and I think this topic about empathy is more than just a session like this. We hope by bringing series like this to the CMI community, we provoke thinking. And I hope, although we don't have the judge here, I hope Manoj and I have provoked some critical thinking. Are we here creating more jobs? Or are we here helping people find the purpose in their life?
Correct.
Okay. So if the policymakers are only interested at creating jobs, maybe they should be hearing that, that actually a more important task the policymakers should be looking at is helping people find purpose in their life. And helping people find purpose in their life need not be creating more jobs, right?
Yeah.
If we really value human life, then we would want the global world to work together to look at how to save every single human life. And we will have to work together as a global community to make sure that the vaccines, when they are available, are fairly distributed. Right? There's compassion, there's empathy, right? And technology did not divide mankind. Actually, it's mankind that divide mankind. Don't blame on technology.
Okay.
Practical empathy requires us to work together to find solutions to solve mankind's problem, not to blame on technology.
Excellent.
So that's my closing comments, and I hope to provoke more thinking within the CMI community and people who are listening in. And that is a contribution that we in the CMI community wanted to bring better programs, more awareness to help more people become better managers, because it is through making more people become better managers, we create a better world for everyone, regardless of where you come from, regardless of your race, regardless of your religion. Thank you.
Excellent.
Thank you for listening in.
Hey, thank you very much, Wontek. Thank you for stepping in at almost zero notice to fill in the shoes for Judge. And we will reschedule this. And Claire, thank you for your patience. I know this was a tough session for you and Jamil and the other team members who are behind trying to support us through this. So I appreciate it. And we will regroup and redo this entire session. So over to you,
Yeah.
Claire.
So wait for our announcement. We will bring Judge back. Okay.
Yeah, definitely.
Good.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Yes, thanks to Manoj Menon for keeping the conversation going, and for Taewoon Tech for stepping in. Absolutely. And the conversation between the attendees in the chat is brilliant. So, and we will definitely look to reschedule. It's such a shame that technology just was not on our side for today to get judging. But thank you all for joining. Don't forget, if you're a member of CMI, you can log into Management Direct and access the many resources, practical development resources, etc. available there. If you're not yet subscribed, why not join our community via the link that has been in the chat and across the bottom of the screen, to gain full access to our Management Direct portal, where you can also join the free CMI newsletter. So thanks all again for your time, and enjoy the rest of your day.
Thank you, Claire. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.